Oh, it feels good to be back. It has been a long time, and hopefully you didn't miss me too much. I know it's been a couple of weeks now since I've done a podcast on my own. So there'll be one coming out next week with Marco, so super looking forward to that. There's one yesterday that I did in Brussels. If you've not heard that, there'll be a link in the description with Brady, Liam and Matt, the three awesome Canadians that I met traveling. And yeah, I thought I'd just jump into straight away what basically wondering, how's it been? For those of you who haven't caught up with me since the last one, it's been brilliant. And it was a lot. At times I've definitely tried to push myself outside my comfort zone a lot more. And it's quite hard to meet new people, especially in Belgium and the Netherlands. Even in the hostels, I found it quite challenging to meet new people. Just the atmosphere, and I think a lot of it is down to the city or the place that you go. For example, when I was in Hawaii, I remember it was so easy to meet new people. Literally, we hired some cars. We were going to go travel up to the north of the island, and we didn't have enough seats to be filled. We had 2 cars going, and then 1 car was going to stay there. So I was driving, and we were going to have 6 other people. We only had 4. So literally that day, we met other people and was able to fill those seats, and it was so easy in comparison. Hopefully this audio sounds a bit better than usual. It's probably the same audio, but there's less rattling. Basically, I think I was telling you a couple of weeks ago, I got a microphone arm, and I look so professional with it now. So I'm just using it for now so that I can use it as a microphone holder, but then I can also take it out and replace it, and then show you my mixes, what I mix, how I mix, because a lot of people do wonder what the hell do they do, but I've definitely said that before. So hopefully this reduces the amount of noise, because I do know at times, especially when I'm doing it, like for example, there's 4 of us sharing 2 microphones on the last one with the lovely Canadians, and this time the idea was we were passing it forwards and backwards in the 2, and after editing the audio, I think I managed to reduce it as much as I can, but you can't really help it too much. We were sitting close to each other and speaking, and we were doing what we could, but honestly, it was a great time. A lot of the things when it comes to Rampage and stuff like that will be coming out with the podcast in Marco next week. So I don't want to go too much into detail about the actual experience. I know I've been banging on about it for ages, but long story short, amazing, but extremely tiring. Like probably the most challenging things I've ever been to, because I was the only person that I knew. Even I joined a group with over 100 people in. Pretty much everybody there was going on some kind of drug, and I was the only person going. Now I'm just taking water and going. But yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe for next week's when I'll release it. Hopefully next Tuesday with Marco, and hopefully in a couple of weeks I'll have some more guests on. But we'll have to see with the situation and everything. So one thing I wanted to tell you about story-wise was I was in Ghent. And for those of you who don't know, Ghent, it is a small city in Birmingham. In Birmingham. Oh dear, Neil, it's been a long day, hasn't it? I'll get onto that why afterwards. In Belgium. So the plan was I didn't even want to go there, to be honest. I've heard of it only because Leicester City have a player that we bought from there, from the club that's there. So I was thinking, it was not too bad. And one of my favourite artists of all time, San Holo, was performing. And I managed to miss him when he came through his UK leg of the tour. And so I was kind of gutted, but I've seen him once before. But I've seen him once before DJing, but in his live set now, he does a lot more. In this album tour, he was doing some stuff. He was doing live editing. He was doing guitar playing and singing and all sorts of awesome stuff. So it was a kind of a love letter of himself. And I don't think he'd released his album when I last saw him. Anyway, so I found out before that, he'll be in Belgium the time than I will. And he was only performing in Ghent. So I was thinking, I might as well go there. Long story short, I spent 3 days just going to explore Ghent. So I got to my hostel, and the hostel was absolutely brilliant. It was not the best hostel, but it was as central as you could possibly get. I mean, I genuinely couldn't ask for a better place. And for the first half a day, it was really hard to meet people, really, really challenging. So I'd go into the hostel, walk in. I was thinking, okay, the first thing to always do, in my opinion, when you get to a city or you get to a new location, apart from recover from jet lag if it's been a long flight, because that's the number one priority, and get used to the city and surroundings and stuff like that, is just get lost in the city. Just go somewhere and get lost down a road and down an alley and just walk around, So I managed to get in for 10 o'clock, and I was like, I'll have a quick walk around the city. And do you know what? It's beautiful. If you ever want to go, it's probably a city you could do in a weekend. It's a nice small place, but at the same time, it's a good place to go to just get away from it. But it still feels like a city. There's still everything there. It's expensive, but I love my time there. I really did. It was kind of a push and pull I had. It was kind of, at times I got to the hostel and every single person was on their phone and laptop, and there was no sense of, oh, I'm going to try and mingle with a single person here. It was just everybody was by themselves. So I looked at the board and they said there's a tour in an hour. So there's a tour at 1 o'clock, and bear in mind it's about 10 o'clock, I want to say. So I said, that's no problem. I'll come back in a bit. Got lost around the city, came back in time, had some lunch, came back to the hostel, and there was a guy waiting there who was, again, nobody was talking. And bearing in mind, it's nearly closing on 1 o'clock. So everybody was just in their own element. Everybody was in their own element. I was like, I don't want to disturb that. Some guy walks in and he goes, oh, is this where the tour is? I was like, brilliant. Somebody I can speak to on their own as well. So I said, oh, hey, are you going to... He goes, oh, we were starting at 1, so we got about 15 minutes. I was like, oh, brilliant. So I kind of, hey, got his attention, sat down, and we started getting on, and just like that, we were just absolutely getting on like a house on fire. Then we did a tour, walked around the tour, and what was cool as well is the tour guide was English. One thing as well, I didn't mention travelling to come out of the story, then come back in again, is because of, obviously, England, or the UK and the European Union, there's a whole load of, and being in Brussels, you can imagine there was wouldn't say tension, but it was a friendly bit of banter, let's say, forwards and backwards between anybody from the UK and Netherlands and Belgium. But it's fair game. I mean, you just gotta roll with the punch in the same way that America rolls with the Donald Trump punches. You just gotta. This is the situation we're in. We can't change it. What are we gonna do? Life moves on. Anyway, so he was English as well. So we were talking a bit. We were walking around the city, and do you know what? It's really, really nice city with a lot of history, a lot of history. So. And these walking tours are really, really fun and cool. And the tour guides are really, well, it's part of their job is to be friendly and approachable and easy to talk to and stuff like that. But you can, whatever job you've had and whatever, even if you've been in a company, you definitely know there's employees that have been there and you're like, how did you get a job? Like, you're not made for this role at all. Who employed you? But yeah, for these tour guides, it was fine. So after the tour, we went off and basically retraced the routes, found some shops, and then sat down, had some talks. Really, really lovely guy from Kosovo. So he's kind of explaining his life story and stuff. Don't want to mention him too much, but as in, because he's not said he wanted to come on. But again, there was loads of people that I met, and I'm going to talk about in the podcast, that I would have loved to do a podcast with, but it just didn't feel right at the time, just to enjoy the moment. And also, I didn't have my equipment on me. It was just people you meet on the fly. So he had to leave that evening. Then I went back to the hostel, met somebody else, who was just sitting there with a pint. So I was thinking, oh no, that'll be cool. I'll go talk to him. I said, hey, excuse me, are you sitting there? Can I join you? Yep, no problem. Really cool Portuguese guy living in France, studying medicine. I thought it was really cool. I had a really good chat, and I said to him, since you're here, he goes, when did you get here? I said, oh, I got here this morning, did the tour. but we should go out in the evening. So yeah, we'll go out. We'll have a look. We'll have a look around the city. I said to him, you should go on the tour since it's free. But it's not. It's free to go on the tour, but it's kind of implied that you tip, and how much you tip is entirely up to you. So I said to him, you go do your thing. So I'm with him in the evening. In the daytime, I went to sleep, woke up the next morning, met for breakfast, and I said to him, best thing to do is go do the tour. So I said, okay, no problem. So he went and did the tour. I went to explore the castle. They have their own castle. It's a really cool idea. So what they've got, you walk into the castle, and it's like, I think it's €12 entry for a couple of hours. It's not too bad. You go to the inside bit, and they give you like this like walkie-talkie thing with headphones. So you put the headphones on, you select your language, and then you press, and it'll say you're in this room. Press number 1, and you press number 1, click enter, and it will give you like if you've watched Horrible Histories, like a kind of narrated, oh, this is what happened in this room. But you know what you're expecting. This room was made in 1884 by King, and they're really boring and crap. This one was great. I was entertained. I was laughing, and not trying to blow my own horn too much. It takes quite a bit to make me laugh and for me not to see the punchlines coming. It was dry humor. It was witty. It was great. I really enjoyed it. And I got lost in the castle, just being absorbed by all these new information and just seeing some of the, seeing some of the torture chambers and stuff that were in this castle as well, which is like, oh, I'm glad I didn't live in these ages. And some of the witchcraft they believed back then, and in literal witchcraft, they just burn people alive because, you look funny. Not a big fan of that. So after that, I looked at my phone and it's a message from the Portuguese guy, and he goes, oh, I've met a couple of people from the tour. We're just coming down. We're going to have a pint. I said, yeah. Once I finish with the castle, I'll come join you. So, finished the castle, and it's a really. I've not seen many castles in my time, but that one was really, really good. Came out, went to meet them, and so I said, oh, who are your friends? He goes, oh, this is X from Chile, and he is from the tour. I've met him on the tour, and this guy is the tour guide. And, oh, right, he was a Peruvian guy. So that was cool. I was sat in there, we started talking, then another person joined, and it was just a really friendly, and I wish I would have got recorded. We just talked about everything. And then what was really interesting as well is, actually, first thing that happened is one of the guys came over, and I was like, hey, it's the guy from the fellow Englishman from the tour. He goes, oh, yeah, hey, how you doing? So I started talking to him. He was really cool. Then somebody else came over. And then just kind of, it was just a really easy way of just conversation was flowing, and we were talking about just this, that, and the other. One, that the Chilean guy didn't speak too good English. So at times he was talking in Spanish, and I was like, I'm picking up things. I can follow the gist of a conversation of what's happening, which just because of my knowledge of French, I think I explained last time. Well, I'll explain in the next podcast, the encounter I had with the cleaner with Marco, and I was like, I finally understand I finally get to use my experience, which I did, especially in Brussels. But yeah, it was really nice to meet just new people. So there was another guy that came over. He was older. He must have been about 50 to 60. And so the Peruvian tour guide introduced me. So we started talking, and he was telling me about all the situations that he's been through, and how they left Chile and they fled because of a dictatorship, and they ended up in Belgium, and how he's perceived as this is his home. Belgium is his home, but people will still go, oh, where are you from? And the same way that I get that kind of in the UK, where people go, oh, where are you from? I say, oh, I'm from Leicester. I'm from England. They go, no, where are you really from? And it was interesting to hear another perspective. And his perspective was the fact that he is... Oh, am I speaking too loud? Am I clipping? Oh, am I too close? Anyway, we're going to make this up. We're going to see how this goes. So apologies if this is too loud. So yeah, one of the things that he did, which I thought was really, really awesome, is, well, first of all, he was typical a man of that age where you sat crossed-armed, didn't want to give anything away. So I was like, okay, I've experienced this before in my last job. Let me just pry a little bit. And after that, he just opened up and just started talking and talking and talking and talking and talking. And it was fantastic. It really, really was. Just listen to his stories and how his brothers came over, then they went back to Chile, and hearing another perspective, which is similar to the story of my granddad, but different. Do you know what I mean? The same kind of stereotypes. They came here, and for some reason, immigrants are always classed as smelly. I've realised that when people go, there's one that, regardless of where they come from, or if people that aren't from this country, for some reason, from the country that you're emigrating to, are always classed as smelly, which I find bizarre. It's just an easy thing to say, you know what I mean? Anyway, so that was really cool, because at times people were coming and people were going, and I was talking to the Peruvian guy, and at times there was there was me and the Peruvian tour guide as well. So we were talking about America and poverty and stuff like that, and how, in my opinion, America, I've never seen poverty as bad as what it was in America. And this guy was he goes, I can't remember how he got his attention, but he came over. Well, he was kind of, hey, yeah, I've got an interesting story, and he goes, yeah, come over. Can't remember what his name is, but he was half Brazilian and half Belgian. I was like, an interesting perspective as well. So he goes, yeah, actually, my fiance is over in America, and I'm going to move to, I want to say Phoenix or Pennsylvania, either one of the two. He's going to move to America in a short amount of time. And his whole thing was, he didn't understand. He was kind of with us, and we're kind of bashing America. Because to be fair, bashing America is quite easy. Not just with Trump and everything, just generally at the moment. Bashing America is it's quite easy, especially when you live in Europe and they look at anything as kind of socialist, like their healthcare, which I think anybody that's European just goes, no, that's kind of standard. That's that's fine. But yeah, his perspective was really, really interesting, and it was just, I was there for so many hours, just sitting there, just with my lemonade and stuff. People are like, you don't drink, and I found it more weird that I didn't drink over in Belgium than I did in the UK. It's got a lot bigger drinking culture, and also their beers are like 10% at times, properly strong things. I didn't try it, but I'm not really a big fan of beer, so that's the reason why. But 10% beer, and actually that's one thing we talked about as well, was a lot of tourists come over from England. So obviously I went to Amsterdam, and I went to Belgium as well. So because the beer is so much stronger, people get absolutely tanked on alcohol and then just go around, and I know what they're like, causing absolute trouble. And it's so frustrating. It's so frustrating. Just going, oh geez. Europe probably sees us like, oh, what are these drunk heads at times, because it's embarrassing at times, and we just think, oh, we're drunk, so we can kind of behave rationally. But the reason why, I think, is because Britain is quite a reserved culture. We really are quite a chilled out, take your time, relax kind of culture. And one of the downsides of that is that we have a very excessive drinking culture, so like an outlet, which is unfortunate in my opinion, because most people you can't, for example, in the UK, you can't tell your friend, oh man, I really appreciate what you did, or you're really nice and stuff like that, or I really love you, man. You can't say that unless you're completely drunk. And it's that sense of, oh, I've got to keep an iron fist, I've got to keep my guard up, yeah, you're all good, blah, blah, blah. And even at work, this has happened, where I'm at a previous job where something has gone wrong and something has happened, and it's affected, what was the exact circumstance? Oh, yes, it affected me in a certain way. And instead of the manager saying something, he said it to me drunk, after he's had a few drinks, going, was everything okay about that? And I'm like, well, why are you telling me now when we're at the Christmas party? Why didn't you just tell me before? But in my head, I said this out loud. I said, yeah, it's just fine. Because it was fine. Without getting into too much detail. I'm sorry I've not vlogged anything. I know in the previous podcast I said I would, but it's not happening, unfortunately. I tried to do a bit of a vlog, so me getting on the train, the stuff that I've packed and stuff like that, and it just didn't work. Do you know what the main reason was? I didn't like. I don't have that mind that a vlogger has to constantly have the camera out and constantly talking and showing you what they're doing. It's just not my style. I prefer to tell people about it in person. Oh, like when you meet, oh, here's some videos, or here's some insights, or do something like this where it's a lot more, I won't say interactive, but I can flow at my own. I'm not there's a part, when you're vlogging, a part of your brain is always worrying about, oh, I've got to record this, I've got to get the right shot, I've got to get this, got to get that, got to get this. And I'm not a filmmaker, I'm not a photographer, I'm not very creative in that aspect. As much as I appreciate it, I don't like vlogging. Takes up too much of my brain, and I just want to enjoy being in the moment. And the way I do that is by taking pictures and explaining and stuff like that. But yeah, if you ever want to go, if I'd recommend going Ghent, obviously Amsterdam would speak for itself. And yeah, and Ghent was worth going to. Brussels you could do in a weekend. I wouldn't want to live there, to be perfectly honest with you. It's just a big metropolitan place, and there isn't a lot to do, to be honest. We were kind of done within the first 4 days, to be honest. Yeah, and where did we go? Antwerp, but yeah, that was just for Rampage, which you'll hear about in the next one. But yeah, do you know what? I found Amsterdam coming from London, where it's a city of God knows how many people. I think in total London's like 10 million, but it's just a huge place. Leicester's got a population of 330,000, so about a third of a million. It's a nice place, but that size of Amsterdam was 800,000, and that was just such a nice amount of people, in my opinion. So it was enough to survive. It was enough to get by and everything. I just thought, yeah, this is perfect for somewhere I would want to live. Amsterdam seems that way, but there's a lot of similarities between London and Amsterdam, but it's still a very live, it's a thriving city, and you just feel that there's definitely things happening over there, and that's one of the reasons why I want to go traveling. I was going to take these 2 weeks off anyway, from work, but coming back to it, I just go, I really enjoyed Amsterdam. Just the city itself. The price as well. It was expensive at times, but if you knew what you're doing, you could get by on cheap. Buy cheap. They're very, very straightforward. The Dutch. What they say is what they mean, and what they mean is what they say. Kind of, there's no mincing words. Like, for example, I don't know if we mentioned this story, but I don't think we mentioned this story. So we were coming back from Rampage. And one of the guys, because it cost us €40 to do a journey of like 6 kilometers. It was crazy, but they all up the prices because they go, this is the price we've got to pay. And it's because they go, we can make money off these people. And there's no Uber over there. We had a look to try and get an Uber. And in Belgium, there's no Uber in the locations that we tried to find. So we end up paying €40. So the next night, we meet a taxi driver. He goes, oh, well, there'll be 4 of us. Oh, there'll be X amount of us. So we'll just pay for... so if we get your card, he goes, yeah, it'll be €20. So perfect. €10 each, me and Marco. We get back to the hotel room. No problem. So we phone up the guy. It turns out he's given me just the card for the taxi company that he works for. And they go, yeah, sorry, dude, there's nothing happening. And we didn't even say it like that. So he goes, no, there's no taxis available. Welcome to Belgium. And we go, what? Like, why you got to be so rude and abrasive? But I think that's just the culture. And I won't say I prefer it like that, but there's certain things that I liked about it. Like, for example, I want to buy a 24-hour pass to get around Amsterdam, and I'm flicking between Belgium and Netherlands quite a bit, but I feel the Flemish culture of Flanders is quite similar. So I went to zone 1 to 6 card in London for 24 hours would cost you, save at least £15. So I was expecting this. I was expecting something similar to this, and this was only €7.50. So for all access to the metro line, for the underground metro, and the metro is clean, lovely. It could be my next destination. We'll have to see, but it's definitely one of the places that I looked at and went, wow, I could live here. And everybody speaks English, so it's such a godsend when that happens. I know wherever you go in the world, English is still the main language that everybody speaks. To be honest, English is the common language. But honestly, it was I kind of did fall in love with Amsterdam, and not the prostitutes. I know what you're thinking. Get your head out of the gutter. No, at times, like, I think we had this when me and Matt and Liam were talking about it, because it's so open and so honest around there, and so like free. You kind of become desensitized to it. And because it's very touristy, like the tour guide when we were in Amsterdam, we were saying they get 20 million tourists a year, and that's up from 6 million, I think, like 10 years ago or 15 years ago. Don't quote me on that, but it's increased dramatically in the last 10 years or so. And there's a lot more to Amsterdam than just weed and prostitutes. There's loads of art and culture, and the buildings are wonky, and I love it. It's brilliant. Everybody gets around by bike. You've got to be careful, and because obviously I'm here in England, and you probably heard something on the podcast, the previous podcast as well. We drive on the other side of the road, so when we go over there, the traffic is just I just look both ways to make sure that both cars are not coming, and then I just go out. But then with Amsterdam, you've got the added bonus of the bikes are coming as well. So the bikes will come at you sometimes at real speed, and they don't look like it, because if you see people riding bikes in the UK, they normally are like what they're called. I want to say lycra, but I don't know, like the male leggings and the glasses and the helmet. They're all or they're going to the gym, or they're doing it for fitness purposes rather than just for ease of transport purposes. So what happens is that you just see normal people, everybody riding bikes, and these little cars. They have their little cars. They're the coolest things in the world. So they have like motorbike engines, but they've got roofs. And they're tiny cars, and you can get on the ferry, because where I was living, it was on the Nord part, so it was just over the river from the main Amsterdam Central, which was absolutely great. But it meant that at times you'd go walking and you'd get people on their bikes just going and going and going and going, and little cars and motorbikes were on it. It's fantastic. I loved it, and it was I absolutely loved it. It may be somewhere that I want to go in the future, but we'll have to see. At the end of the day, I've just got back from traveling and stuff, and one of the things that for being away from 2 weeks, I just packed light. So I think I was telling you in the last podcast, didn't take my laptop, so I just took my podcasting gear. I took very minimal stuff, which I did also for when I went traveling the world. The difference is that was much warmer climates. This was a lot colder, so I didn't take my big ski jacket that I had, and oh my god, I froze within the next couple of days. I remember sitting there just shivering. So I bought a coat, bought another couple of layers when I was out there. Didn't all quite fit in the bag, but as is, you manage to make it fit. When you start out the trip, anytime you start out, you just come out, you're there, and I'm gonna put my underwear in here, my socks in here, everything's folded nice and uniform and lovely. Everything is, and then towards the end of the trip, it was like, get it in the bag, and then we're going it, and then we're washing it all when we get home. I don't care. So on the way back, I was like, it was heaving. I knew I'd bought more clothes and stuff, but it was just like, just get it all in the bag, get it home, dump it in the washing machine. Couldn't care about it. I did the right thing by not packing nice stuff as well, because I learned from the last time that I went traveling. If you ever go traveling, don't pack stuff be prepared to lose it and rip it and for it to get ruined, and you go, because it just, you're not worrying and you're not trying to impress anybody at the same time as well. So since I've been back, one of the things I've been doing is working on mixes, editing these podcasts, not this one, but this one as well, the previous one. And it just takes so much time. Like, it was about 6:00, and I remember editing. It was on Tuesday. Editing, getting the names. Obviously, I've got Brady's. I've attached their Instagrams and stuff like that. Getting all the links right. Creating the picture, getting the title with the little logos and stuff to like make it signature. And I enjoyed it. I really did. But next thing I knew, it was 10:00 at night, and I'm thinking, oh, jeez, I'm not eating yet. Because I was thinking, I'll just work half an hour more. By the time I'm doing that, then edited the 2 tracks, combine them down. Then I've got to edit it, process it, stick it in Movie Maker, because honestly, Movie Maker's great, simple. It takes a lot less effort and time than Vegas as well. But with the mixes that are coming out soon, hopefully they'll be done in Vegas. And yeah, so the next thing I know, it's 10:00. Oh, jeez. I spent all day on the computer, and it's been beautiful outside in England at the moment. So I just didn't get time. And currently, the sun is setting at the moment, so we will see. But I've just, when you come back from a holiday, and a lot of jobs, especially working in IT, a lot of jobs for me is spent in front of a screen. So obviously you have your phone, that's something else, but when you come back to looking at screens, your eyes go funny. And I think that's something that I think we all have to do, but me especially, I've got to turn off from the screens and just enjoy being present. Enjoy reading. Get back into reading. Getting some books. Read some books and stuff like that. And because technology is there all the time, and I don't think our brains and our eyes have evolved to look at technology for this period of time. It's a very, very new thing in the last couple of generations. Computers have come around, and now in this generation it's become a huge, if you don't have a laptop and a computer now, you're kind of considered archaic. I think the UN has described, having access to the internet is like a human need, because at the end of the day, there's so much stuff you can't do now because banks and stuff, I won't say are closing, but a lot of them moving online, and just everything is, you have to have some kind of internet connection. So I think I'm going to be reading some more books and stuff like that as well. I'm currently working my way through Nick Yarris's The Kindness Approach. If you're interested in that, it's a very, very interesting story. I think I've talked about it before. His podcast with True Geordie, I'll put a link in the description. That's a podcast that really, really changed me. And I know people use that word a lot, and that one really made me. What it was, I like the word reaffirm. He told me things that I already knew, that I kind of knew, and he goes, "Oh yeah, this is why this is," and it's a thing called neuroplasticity, where you can repair your own brain with being nice to you, which kind of sounds like what? And being nice to yourself. Brilliant, absolutely loved it. So kind of working my way through his book at the moment, and right after I edit this and have more time on the screen, and just relax. But I've been in such a good work mood recently, of just working and getting through and having time to myself. And because I've got back, I'm doing all the little jobs that I won't say couldn't do, but I just forgot about and just fell off the schedule beforehand. And one thing I want to add on, because we're coming up to 35 minutes now, so it's going to be a long one, was a lot of you might not have heard, there's a new Billboard #1 called Billie Eilish. She is 17 years old. She's the first woman to be born in the 21st century that has a #1. And to be fair, I'm surprised. Well, she's 17, so it's not too bad. It's 2019, but if I think back to like the Jackson 5, Crisscross, there's got to be more, but I'm just forgetting them off the top of my head. But is it me, or were there a lot more common back in the day? Like, it took quite a few years for this to happen, where I won't say it shouldn't have happened, but it should have happened. I mean, it's right to happen, but it didn't come soon enough, in my opinion. And I thought more acts from a young age would be breaking through. But I guess that's the world we live in. 17 with the number one. Oh my, can you imagine what you were doing at 17? I don't even want to think about it. I just start cringing. It's horrible. And they're the kind of things that you think about and go, oh geez, like what the hell have I have achieved in my life when I'm X amount older than her? But it is what it is. There's always the people that have done well. And there's plenty of other people. So I encourage you, support your local artists, support your local communities, go out and find new music. That was one of the advantages of going to Rampage as well. I found Murder and Infect, which I've listened to, and I went, no, I'm not a big fan of them. Then I heard them live and went, oh man, I get it now. I get it. It's so good. So the podcast also, I want to say as well, on the next podcast with Marco, my voice is shot. I didn't realize how shot it was at the time, but we were surviving on maybe, I want to say we had one sleep of 3 hours, and then we had like an hour and an hour, and I had a headache like you cannot believe, because my body was out of sync, out of schedule. And we were both tired. We both were tired by the end of the 2 days. And thoroughly enjoyed it. But at the same time, it was such an intense experience. Because if you type in Rampage 2019, I'll just type in Rampage 2019 and have a look for We Are Rampage events on YouTube. You'll be able to see all of the set lists. And a lot of you go, what is this crap music? The lights, the sounds, everything was intense. People like Funkcase, I don't know if you've heard of. He was is premiering his new audio visual show, which wow, that was amazing. It was this whole journey of him going through the judge sentencing him, but the judge is actually himself, and the sounds and the sights, everything really, really inspired me to go, right, if I ever produce something like that, I want like an audio visual show. And I just got so inspired by so much. And it was annoying because I couldn't, I like after gigs and stuff, I don't know if anybody has this, but I get super, super inspired and try to create music on and just live off that vibe that I hear. I go home and create some stuff, and sometimes I just want to go to bed. But other times I'm so full of, I won't say adrenaline, but so full of like, right, I want to create stuff now. I just go and create stuff. And it was really hard having that experience where I couldn't create anything. I couldn't put anything out there, or I couldn't share anything, because all I could do was like post on social media, which is not really as great as I thought, as I wanted it to be anyway. And so, yeah, man. Anyway, I know I'm rambling on a bit, but it was a hell of an experience. Stay tuned for next week. The podcast with Marco shall be coming. Really interesting one. And I apologize, Mark, if you're listening. I was so excited. I met one of my idols, and I was just in such a good mood. Well, I was such a talkative mood. I kind of talked all over him. So I really want to apologize to him and you, because it's not good. It's not good. I really wanted him to talk more, and after editing the podcast, like, you bloody idiot. But the excuse was I was tired, I was inspired, and I wasn't in the right set of mind. But again, Marco, I'm sorry for not letting you speak as much as I probably should. Anyway, now I'm literally sitting in a dark room. The sun was nice and out at the time, but it's literally illuminated now by my laptop screen, the mixer, my DJ controller, and my other laptop. Technology runs my life, hey? It runs a lot of ours. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Stay tuned for more, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye-bye.